thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sonia Moline. I am with an organization called Technology Source, and we have been around for over 20 years, serving clients from all over the world, mostly in the United States, helping kind of as a technology matchmaker, right? Helping them find the services for voice or communications, whether it be internet or phone systems or cloud computing, infrastructure, all of the things that help make an organization run smoothly so that the organizations themselves can focus on what they do while we take care of the sourcing as a service. That is a trademarked name by Technology Source, sourcing as a service. Also sourcing the elements of business success. So that's what we do. On the call today, we have with us Sue Beller. Sue is a team member, been around even before I was here, and introduced me to Technology Source. So Sue, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning, Sonia, and welcome to the event. And if any of you were invited to join us, we would definitely want to encourage you to have meetings with our Intelligent IP group after this call. So if you have any questions about that, I can put my information in the chat to help you get connected, obviously through your advisors or your partners that invited you. But definitely, if you don't know, you can always reach out to me.
Perfect. Great. And then also from Intelligent IP on the call, many of you guys have seen Mark and Seth and Alan before, but I wanted to introduce them again to you this morning. So where are you guys all calling in from? We'll start with you, Mark.
Hi, Mark Arvin, Channel Manager. I support Technology Source advisors and partners and help their customers when they're looking at Intelligent IP as a provider for services and solutions. I'm based in Dallas, Texas. So super excited to be here, Sonia.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. And Seth, what about you?
Seth Du Bois calling in from Denver, Colorado. Love technology. I help support Mark as his sales engineer and help you guys in finding the right solutions for your groups.
Cool. And I heard that you're getting ready to move into a new home soon.
I am. We decided to brave this crazy housing market and sell a house and buy a house, and it's been a wild ride.
That's awesome. All right. And then Alan, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Sonia. Alan Walker. I'm VP of Sales for Intelligent, and I'm located in Salt Lake City, Utah. So we talked a little bit about the weather. We're enjoying kind of the heat wave of 100-degree weather in June. So hopefully we'll bring some heat today and help you guys enjoy a little bit about what Microsoft has to offer.
Great. And then we have another Seth Du Bois, but he is the same person because just in case you can see that other little square, that is his device that he's going to show us a demo on. So a little foreshadowing of what's to come. All right, well, let's dig in today. We are going to be talking about Microsoft Teams, an application that many of us know a lot about, but there have been some changes. And I think that's kind of where I'd like to start today. Mark, I could hand that off to you. What are some changes that you have seen over the past year with Microsoft Teams, and how are organizations getting the most out of this product?
Yeah, you bet. We've seen really companies do a great job of utilizing Teams as a collaboration tool with the advent of the forced remote workforce that we're all hit with, all companies alike. It accelerated the process of needing to have collaboration tools to keep employees connected and informed way faster than I ever thought it would. So we're at a point now where companies know what collaboration tools can do for them and are actually utilizing them. And so when we have the conversation today, a lot of what we're going to talk about is how to take that collaboration experience and enhance it by adding voice to Teams. And it's just a natural progression, and it makes sense. Hopefully we'll do a good job explaining why throughout the conversation today.
Well, I'm sure you will. And just to keep the conversation a conversation, we want to ask our audience today if you would please ask questions. So if something pops up in your mind about Microsoft Teams or about Telligent IP or anything that you think is relevant, we want to hear it. If we actually use your question to further this conversation that we're having, you will get your name dropped into a little bowl just like usual. I will put that in there, and at the end we will draw for 2 prizes. We have courtesy of Telligent a $75 gift card and a $25 gift card. So a first and second, I said them backwards, but so a 25 and a 75, first and second prize. So use your questions and answers box, and I will be monitoring that. Sue and I will be monitoring that. So, all right. Well, could you just kind of kick it off? Maybe Seth, if you want to, Seth or Mark or Alan, we'd love to kind of learn more about this topic, kind of see where we're at now. And I'd love to see these demos you're talking about too.
You bet. I'm going to jump into presentation mode here and we'll get things kicked off.
Perfect.
And 1 second there. You see my screen okay?
It looks like PowerPoint. Oh, there we go. Looks
Good.
good.
All right, so we do have a few PowerPoint slides. We won't hit you over the head with PowerPoint all day, but here, just a quick agenda to cover. We're going to talk about the Microsoft Teams business communication platform in general, and then talk about the voice piece of it and what we feel like are advantages of working with someone like Telligent IP to enhance and enable the voice to Microsoft Teams. And then we'll take a look at some of the tools that are available to customize for your business, some of the features that are available as well. And then we're going to jump into a demo. And the demo will be the majority of the presentation today, and give you a chance to see, live firsthand what Teams can do and how companies are utilizing it. There's a lot there, so we'll just kind of touch the surface. We look forward to doing a personalized demo with everyone in the future and cater it more towards your company. But at this point in time, we'll kind of talk about some of the aspects of Teams voice. So, one of the key things that I think is important around Microsoft Teams is the fact that as a consumer, if you're already purchasing or have purchased Microsoft Office 365, you have an investment there. And to be able to maximize that investment, I think Teams as a collaboration tool is perfect for all size businesses. It's one of the only solutions that brings together meetings, calls, chat, document collaboration, project management, and workflow in a single integrated user experience, which is really important these days. And then the freedom to work anywhere is extremely important. Not only can you bring together these different collaboration tools in a single place, but you can work with anybody, anytime, anywhere, with access to all your applications across any device with the same consistent, outstanding experience. And then adding calling to Teams really enables you to have a dial plan that your employees can use to leverage when they're already in Teams utilizing this collaboration tool. It just makes sense to add the calling feature. So it's another application, another part of Teams where your employees are spending their time. So a little bit about Telligent IP, who we are, our capabilities, and really, the things that are important for customers when they do business with us. We are a direct routing partner for Microsoft, so we're certified to do that. We provide a native integration into Teams, and there's no third-party applications. It was set up so the direct routing and what we're providing is really how Teams is best utilized. So that gives us really a solid foundation to help your company. We also have 9 years experience with Microsoft Voice Solutions, starting with Lync and then Skype for Business. And so with the advent of Teams Voice, it was really a natural progression for us. Rest assured, you're going to be with a company that has experience and has been working with Microsoft products for 9+ years. And then on top of that, we are a Microsoft Gold partner. And whether you're looking for someone to just assist with setting up Teams Voice, or you're looking for someone to manage all aspects of your Microsoft stack, we can help you with that. As a customer, if you already have an MSP you're working with and you're comfortable with them and you want to continue to go down the road of having them support most of your IT, we're absolutely fine with that. We'll collaborate with them, work with them to set up your voice so it's seamless for you. And then being a telecom carrier is real important in this equation. Microsoft's core competency, as everyone's well aware, is really around software. and they do a great job with the PBX functionality of Microsoft Teams voice in the Azure cloud. However, they don't have the desire to be a telecom carrier, and they don't want to have to support customers with telecom support across the globe, so to speak. That's not their competency. But that is our competency, and that's what we do. So if you need a new phone number in a new market, or you need support, it's available 24/7 as a customer, we can definitely provide that for you. And then as far as deployments are concerned, if you're looking to move real fast or you want a phased approach, we can meet both of those needs. Once we've agreed that this is the right solution for you, we'll schedule a kickoff call with our team and yourself. And within 72 hours, we'll get the process started. We'll start to roadmap the process, what it looks like according to what you're looking to accomplish, and then we'll take it from there. So a lot of flexibility around the way you want to deploy teams. I think, Alan, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate the time to spend with you guys today. And honestly, one of the things that we're seeing is, as Mark has alluded to, there's just been such a demand over the last year and a half, and a lot of it's based on the world we're living in and kind of how the work environments have changed. But one of the things that we're seeing specifically with Teams, when Microsoft Office 365 and Teams has been out there, a lot of the businesses have been using it for the collaboration, the SharePoint, file sharing, even the chat, IM, etc. But we're really, really seeing a demand where our customers are looking for convenience, ease of use. They're looking to say, hey, how can I implement and bring voice, or I'm going to use another word, PBX phone system, into the world of Teams as well? Well, the product's been there. It's just been with the last year and a half that it's really started to grow from a popularity perspective. And so we're seeing more and more people, and almost on a daily basis, we have customers that will approach us and say, hey, how can I make Teams my PBX and phone system? Well, one of the things that we're noticing when that question comes about is, while Teams is a great service from a phone system perspective, it maybe has a few shortfalls. And that's really where we can kind of step in to actually blend the world of the collaboration piece into the phone system piece and the service from a voice perspective. And so one of the things I just want to educate everybody on today is what Telligent provides is we are a unified communications provider. And for those who don't know us, we focus with two different platforms. We have the Microsoft Teams that we focus on, and we also have a unified communications or hosted phone system called the BroadSoft, which is the Cisco product. Now, where I'm really kind of going with on this is it allows us to provide some feature functionality that people won't or be able to receive from Microsoft Direct. And so we kind of allude to this as a hybrid solution, and we kind of work between platforms. Simple things, we've had configurations where I've seen customers that have been the 400 or 500 seat range, and they may come to us and 400 seats may be within Microsoft Teams, but they may have common lobby phones. They may have courtesy phones or just phones that really the people, or there's no people associated with, that just maybe need dial tone to the PSTN, et cetera. And so they don't want to pay for the Microsoft license. They just want something where they can have dial tone. So we've done a blend where we have had 400 seats in a Teams environment, maybe 50 to 60 seats with the BroadSoft, and just giving them dial tone from that perspective. So the hybrid solution is something that we've really seeing a lot more of, is just simply because of the needs and what the customers are looking for. Another thing that we're seeing is failover options. We've seen Teams and Microsoft have a couple outages this year. Well, if Microsoft goes down from a voice perspective, their PBX and their phone system functionality is down as well. And with the luxury of having BroadSoft and the voice going over a BroadSoft network and our PSTN out to the PSN, et cetera, we have had customers that will set up failover options. And so the luxury there is, if Microsoft goes out, we can actually take those numbers, main list number or numbers into hunt groups, et cetera, and we can fail those over either to other offices, other locations, cell phones, et cetera. So basically still providing the phone system functionality so it doesn't look like the customer is completely out of service. We're also seeing just a smattering of people saying, hey, Teams really doesn't provide any option for us in regards to, I've got analog devices, and some of the things I've just kind of outlined there, maybe doorbells, someone who comes to the front desk, they hit a buzzer and it hits the phone system, they allow them in, or external paging, warehouses or things like that that have external paging. Same thing there is because of the hybrid solution that we provide, we can now hook doorbells and external paging, and through our BroadSoft platform, transform those and absolutely have them function within the Teams umbrella now. So once again, just some functionality that if these folks go with Microsoft Direct, they don't have the ability to have that full functionality. And the last thing I want to talk about is just because this is exciting for me, it's coming soon. Teams has been great from the voice perspective, but they just recently, last November, released their API that allows for call center solutions. Within Teams itself, there's some queuing and there's some hunt groups and everything you can set up, but I'm talking about more full-blown contact center solutions. And that's feature rich, that has the reports, the dashboards, the analytics, the CRM integrations, those type of things. We have been developing our own software that will allow full call center features and functions. All the things that you see listed on here as far as bullets will be available for us. We're coming soon with the product. We're having our first customer. This will be released in the next week or two, and then we probably will fill that in 2 weeks. After that, 2 to 3 weeks, that we'll be in a position, hopefully, that we can release it to the general public. My hope is that in the next 2 months, this is something that we can actively sell. And the good thing about this is just takes Teams to a whole nother layer. And this is actually a product that isn't a standalone. It works within the Microsoft Teams stack. So it's fully integrated, all the reports, the dashboards, analytics, everything that we're talking about that you'd see in a call center solution works within the Teams umbrella. So anyway, excited for that coming soon. Look forward to that. I think it's a great tool that those people using Microsoft Teams can take advantage of. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate it. I'm going to stop sharing now. And I think Seth is going to jump in here and present us with the demo.
Did we want to go over a few quick questions before
Perfect.
that?
Good idea.
Okay. All right. So we had a quick question from John B, as in Bravo. Please let us know any big mistakes you've seen companies make in adding voice to Teams, or any lessons that you could pass on to an organization today that's considering adding voice to Microsoft Teams. I think that's a good question.
Sure.
Help us so we don't bump our heads on the same thing that another organization just did.
So as far as the question is concerned, is it relative to mistakes companies have made with other providers, or just in general? Or can you rephrase
this
that?
question just says, in adding voice to Teams, what's a mistake that you've seen happen in general?
Preparedness is always important, making sure you have everything in place, ready to go from a network perspective, and we'll assist you with that. You want to make sure that you have proper internet speeds. This is going to be going across the internet, and that's fairly common things that can be worked through easily, but you always want to have that conversation up front. I think another thing would be, with your employees, the adoption rate is always important, because you hate to deploy something and it doesn't get utilized, especially if you're spending money as a corporation. So the way we look at that is it's just part of our roadmap to installing. So we will set up training in advance of turning up your services. We'll have the services live and available, but before we move over the phone numbers, we'll go ahead and we'll do leader-led training virtually. We have videos, we have cheat sheets, and so forth. So I think those are two big ones. Make sure your network's solid, and then make sure your employees are properly trained. Because if they're not properly trained, it's going to lead to frustration, and they're not going to be able to utilize Teams voice to all its capabilities. Seth or Alan, did you have anything you wanted to add?
You know, the only other thing that I would add to that is just what devices you're going to use. And what we see a lot of people, they either come from premise-based phone systems or used to physical desk phones. Kind of what Seth's going to show you today is more the soft phone, the mobile apps, and really where I think Teams is strong at. And so we've literally had people who bought a bunch of phones and all of a sudden a week or 2 weeks are like, I don't need the phone. We're just using our soft phones and we're just using our mobile apps, and they kind of go away from that. Not necessarily a mistake, but just something that we see people realize what Teams offers in those two other devices, and they kind of get away from the desk phones.
Yeah, those are good. Okay, next question. John V is in Victor says, does the analog support devices include things like alarms, elevators, and other POT type solutions? If so, does it require an on-site device?
I'll take
Seth,
that.
go ahead.
Yep. So anything that we're going to use as an analog device is going to require an analog adapter. So we're going to have a piece of equipment there on site that we're going to register out to our server stack. And with that, that's how we're going to have that digital translation off to analog. So we are going to have some equipment on site. There are lots of things that will function that we want to use, that we want to move into the Teams environment. There are other things like security systems and elevators and things like that we probably want to leave as POTS lines. So we have those conversations. We sit down with our implementation team and make sure that we understand exactly what's on site and exactly what they want involved there. Anything like overhead paging, front doorbells, back doorbells, we obviously want to include those because we want those calling the right people. But some of those others we will leave as POTS lines. So that's just a mix match of what each individual site looks like.
Okay, great. One organization says, this sounds great. I'm interested, but how do I convince my leadership team? Because this may end up costing more than what we're currently paying.
So I would answer that with, obviously we'd need to do an evaluation, right? Look and see what you currently have in place, and if ROI needs to be justified, then we have that conversation. If it's a customer, or excuse me, if you are a customer that's already utilizing Teams for collaboration, it's an easier conversation to have with your leadership to talk about enabling voice, because your employees are already utilizing Teams from a collaboration standpoint. So if there is an increase in cost, it's usually justified with efficiency for employees, and it just makes their jobs a lot easier. And then also, is all the full functionality of providing everything that's needed for a remote worker currently in place? Are they getting the best value from the multiple devices with the current solution when it comes to voice? A lot of what we're going to talk about in the demo is how to maximize that value with multiple devices in this remote workforce era, so to speak. So several different roads to go down with leadership, depending on, you know, what they see as important or what they see as a problem they need solved, would be my answer.
Yeah, and I would say if anyone needs help with that, let me know, because I used to be an IT director and have had to present many solutions to the leadership team. And, you know, it always has to start with cost. It has to make sense from an economic standpoint. But then once you get past the cost, you know, if you're able to justify, you know, improvements in communications, you know, increased productivity, you know, improved employee satisfaction, you know, a lifestyle change. One of the clients that I've seen move forward with Microsoft Teams is a business owner and has, you know, I think probably a couple dozen employees, and you know, was forced, like you said at the beginning of this conversation, into a remote workforce. And he said it was like the best thing that ever happened to him now with Teams, with voice, because he has so much more freedom and flexibility and just all these features. And so when you can make that case to leadership and show them like, this is where we're at now, and this is where we want to be, and this is how we get there, you know, so I'm happy to hop into that with, you know, with you and your advisor anytime to talk about those things with Mark and the team here. So
Sonia, if I may add to that as well, what we're seeing as well, and this is kind of unique to Microsoft, Microsoft is spending millions of dollars in marketing. And so what we have seen is it hasn't been such a hard battle for the IT directors, because we've actually had it come from the top down, where the CEOs are like, hey, I've seen this advertised as far as Microsoft Teams. you guys look at it. And so a lot of times if it's gone either way, the CEO and the upper executives are well aware of what Teams has to offer. They're familiar with it.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And, as an IT leader, you kind of want to get ahead of that kind of stuff too. And I remember, I'm either scrambling to keep up with the demands from leadership, or I'm like, hey, I'm bringing them ideas and stuff like that. So I feel like, these are good conversations to have. And that's what we're here for, is just to kind of help further those conversations. And so, great. One question from Cal H, as in hotel, says, does the software license, is this we buy it, monthly, annually, or is there a perpetual license available? Can you talk a little bit about that? And then in line with that same question from Ed P, as in Papa, can we talk about the cost associated, since you brought it up?
Sure, you bet. I'll take a stab at this. So from a licensing perspective, there is a phone system feature license that you would need to enable in your Office 365 tenant. And that typically is $12. And that would be a monthly fee. And then, excuse me, that's $8. And then from our perspective, $12 typically is the price that we look at from a perspective of providing the dial tone, unlimited usage, the direct inward dial number, all the support and setup as well. So those are the two fixed costs. They are on a monthly basis. It's very much in line with what you'd see with a traditional hosted voice provider, the $20 seat range. So that would make up the cost there. Was there a second part to that question, Sonia? Or did I answer it?
Perpetual or monthly?
Yeah.
Okay, so define perpetual, forever, or what's perpetual mean?
I guess in perpetuity, so forever, yes.
Forever, yeah.
We are flexible on the terms. I mean, there's some standard terms out there with in our industry, but we can have that conversation and look at that case by case basis.
And I'll add a little clarity there. Microsoft doesn't do their Office 365 licensing perpetually. You can, I think, get a discount for buying it at 1 year at a time. So anything you're buying from them is going to be monthly, and then yearly or monthly, and then ours is going to be that monthly service. So I think the answer, unfortunately, is no perpetual.
Okay, well, we'll wrap up questions because I know you guys have some more to do and I want to see this demo. Let's just take one more because it's on the same topic from Blake N, as in November. He says, unlimited minutes, or are they limited?
As far as the minutes are concerned, there's fine print that says it's 3,000 per user pooled. I've never had a customer go over that amount of usage because it's pooled. So if you have 10 users, it's 30,000 minutes, and that includes Mexico, it includes Canada, it includes the US as well. The only time I would be concerned about going over the amount of minutes provided would be if it's an outbound call center that's just constantly pounding the phone, dialing 24/7. That would be a concern. Otherwise, it hasn't been a concern. And we call it unlimited. Technically, if you read the fine print, it's 3,000, but it's pooled across every user. So it's a non-issue.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll be quiet and watch some demos, and then we'll come back with more questions. I'm sure we'll have more.
Awesome. Okay, so what you're seeing here is the Teams client. For those of you that are using Teams, you recognize what you're seeing here. For those of you that aren't, this is the user interface that Microsoft uses for all of the Teams functionality. So channels, Teams, calendar, chat, and your voice and audio pieces. So what you're seeing here is my client. This is my calls tab here. The $8 that Mark talked about is that phone system license that you buy from Microsoft. So once you buy that and once you enable that for your users, they're going to get this dial pad piece, and that's going to be enabled for their individual user interfaces on their devices. And then they will be given a phone number when they buy that direct routing plan from us. So Alan had mentioned that what we do is a native integration. And I don't love the word integration because it's not fully an integration. Really what we do is we natively provide what Microsoft wanted, and then we provide you the service on the back end seamlessly. So we're in a position where The way that Microsoft designed the user interface for Teams is what you see here. If you were to buy phone service from Microsoft directly, it's exactly what you would see here, but you wouldn't get any of our service on the backside. So we opted to go this route because we understand that Microsoft does a good job with their UIs, that people like that, and they don't want to have a widget or an integration or a plugin that they've got to install on all of these different devices. So what you're seeing here is direct routing with Telligent IP through Microsoft. So again, the dial pad comes from that $8 phone system license. The phone number comes from that direct routing plan that you buy from Telligent. We're going to give you those phone numbers. Like Mark mentioned, we can get those in rate centers all across the country. We can get them internationally as well. So you can have phone numbers in lots of different places. I'll just kind of work my way from left to right here. You'll notice here there's this parked calls button. So with Teams Voice, you are going to get a full featured PBX. And I'm going to jump into some of those features for you here on the demo. One of those is parked calls. So if Mark were to take a call and it was for me, he could park that call virtually in the virtual parking lot, tell me an instant message, hey, Seth, I've got a call for you. It's parked in location 12. I would click parked calls here. I get this little pop-up that happens. I type in 12 and grab that call with the pickup button here. So really easy to grab those calls from any location. Mark's in Texas, I'm in Colorado. We can still have those kinds of parked calls and picked up parked calls because everything's happening out in the servers. I've got some forward functionality, which I'll jump into a little later as I dig in deeper, and then my device settings. So this is the device I'm currently using, a Plantronics Savvy headset. Then I've got my call history. Now, one of the things to keep in mind with Microsoft as we look at Teams is it's a user interface that pulls information from lots of different places. So I'm going to be in a position where sometimes this information is being pulled from SharePoint. Sometimes this information is being pulled from Outlook. Sometimes it's the Exchange server. It just depends on where that information is housed, but it's all being presented to me here inside of Teams. So this call history actually comes from my Exchange server. It's being housed in Outlook. And you can see not only does it give me my Teams calls, which are all these calls that have presence next to them, it also shows me any of my PSTN calls or my phone system calls. So calls that come and go from the phone system are also going to be intermingled here. As I scroll down, one of the features that I really love that they rolled out with this new user interface is they've even put your voicemails in line on that history. So you can see I missed a call from Greg here. He left me a voicemail and then he called again. He was anxious to get a hold of me. But with this voicemail, if I click on it, I get more details over here on the right-hand side. It gives me a transcription of that voicemail. It allows me to listen to it down here at the bottom in the corner. And it allows me to interact with him in all of these different ways. Now, this specifically was a Teams call, and he's a Teams user, so I get chat, organization chart, video call, and an audio call. So all of those are really quickly accessible. If I want to look at this history and see only my voicemails, I've got these different tabs here across the top, and if I click on voicemail, it shows me just those voicemails. So one of the things also that's a little different inside of Teams and that I really like about Teams is these voicemails actually only exist in one place as well. They're not on the PBX, they're not in your phone system. Where they exist is in your email. So these come in as emails to you. They're presented to you in your Outlook inbox. If you deal with them there in the Outlook inbox, then it will delete them out of this user interface and vice versa. So they literally only exist once and I interact with it once. Once I've done that interaction, it affects change all the way across the board. So that's my desktop client, that's my mobile client, that's any desk phones if I've got a desk phone that I've got plugged in that I've got ringing on my desk as well. So again, all of this information lives in the Microsoft Azure cloud in your instance of that cloud, and it's pulling that information to these different locations. So that's my voicemail piece there. I've also got my contacts. So if I click on contacts here, you'll see this pulls up all of the recent calls that I've had interactions with. So these are those 10-digit numbers. If I want to add these people as contacts, I can do so with these 3 dots, or I can call them back. And in some instances, I even get the ability to email these people. I also can search for different contacts. So these contacts actually live in Outlook as well. These are your Outlook contacts. They're being pulled into Teams for you. You'll see as I search for my last name, Dubois, those are all of the people that I have in my contacts list that are Duboises. Some of them Teams users. You can see these two here are Teams users. I've got phone numbers for all of these other people that I can just click on. When I click on that, it initiates a call out of Teams for me. If this person has multiple phone numbers, I can right click on their contact list and it shows me all of those numbers that are saved. So again, these contacts are inside of my Outlook folder. They're going to be presented here. If I'm looking at them inside of Outlook and I click on one of those phone numbers inside of Outlook, it will also initiate that outbound call through my Teams client. So really nice to have those things kind of pull together. So that gives me all of my phones interactions as well as my contacts. I'm actually going to click up here on settings and show you just a couple of other settings that I really appreciate about what Teams brings to the table. So with my desktop client, this is what my settings look like. It pulls me up a little pop-up here, and specifically we'll just focus on the calls tab. But inside of this calls tab, I can have the calls ring just me or forward to someone else. I also have the ability to have it ring other locations, external phone numbers, coworkers, call groups, which are things like auto attendance and hunt groups or call queues, as well as it can ring no one else. I can just have it ring only my devices. Now, the beauty about this is when I click it and say ring only me, any device that I'm logged into with my Office 365 credentials is still going to ring. So it's not limiting me to just this device, it's limiting it to just my individual user. So keep that in mind as we work through this. We've also got an unanswered rule, so I can set a time and a location as to where those calls go after that call is not answered for that period of time. We'll talk a little bit later about the call queues, but if you have call queues set up, which is what Teams calls hunt groups or call groups, they're going to show up here if you're a part of those. And depending on how the admin has set up those call queues, you can take yourself out of or put yourself into those different ring groups. So really great feature functionality there. You also have your voicemail that's configurable here, and it's not just a dumb voicemail. You get to record a greeting, but then you also have these 5 different rules that you can put in place. So if you want your voicemail to do different things, only play a recording and not allow a message left, only allow a message left with transferring to another location, all of those are available here to you, as well as it ties in with some text-to-speech custom greetings if you can't have the ability to record your greeting, and ties to your out-of-office greetings for your Outlook. So that's kind of the desktop version in a nutshell. Again, like Mark talked about, we're just scratching the surface on this. There is lots of information here that we can go through, but we want to sit down and individually chat with you about what you guys are doing with Teams, how you're using Teams, and what would be most effective for you. So if you want to see more, let us know, let Sue know, and she'll get you in contact with us so that we can show you some more of that. Sonia, were there any questions that came in while I was working on that and going through that we need to address while I'm here?
Yeah. Okay. So a couple quick questions. One from John B, as in Bravo. He says, you've mentioned calling within North America. Can you support international calling outside North America? And then part B to that question is, can video meetings be used in an alternative to international voice calls?
Perfect.
Good question.
Okay, so anything that is a Teams to Teams call, meaning a Teams user on one end and a Teams user on the other, is going to stay within the Microsoft stack. So that's a global stack, that's a global cloud, and you can make those calls to anybody, and that's free of charge. So if you're doing Teams to Teams calls, those are totally included. If you want to make international calls outbound, we can absolutely include that, meaning say I want to call a Pizza Hut in Italy, I can do that. We can set that up. We can give you that capability. We also have the ability in some countries to give people like an Italian DID, Italian phone number, with the ability to dial Italian numbers as well. So we do have lots of capability there. Just depends on what you want to do. If you've got international countries that you want to have what we call local presence in, let us know. We'll look those countries up and make sure that we can support you on those.
Okay. Excuse me. Okay. So that's good. And then Takuya N, as in November, says, well, there's a couple questions, but one is, does the application meet any compliance standards? That's a good one.
Yeah, so there's lots of compliance standards that it meets, and some of that as we all know with compliance standards, is how you interact with that. So what Microsoft allows for their individual tenants, their individual users, is a full policy stack. So you've got the ability with, say, SharePoint, where you're going to do your file sharing, to have limitations put in place or taken away based on policies inside of the Microsoft stack. So if you're dealing with some compliances and you have some things that you're really worried about, what we would want to do is sit down and look at those policies, make sure that they're set in place, and make sure that you have the coverage that you need, because really this is a very large environment to live in, and we want to be sure that lots of those pieces are covered.
Okay. Question from Ed P, as in Papa. He says, you mentioned this is natively integrated into Teams. Can you expand on this and explain how it's integrated? Is there anything that they'd have to do on their end to handle the process, or is that something that you guys would do?
Perfect. Good question. So with what we call the native integration, all you have to do is put that licensing in place. And then during our kickoff call, we have some engineers that will get into your tenant and point your voice traffic to our servers. Those are the two things that need to happen. There's no on-site equipment that needs to go in place. There's no widgets or extensions or anything else that has to be installed. That person will log out, log back in, and with that license applied, they'll see that dial pad. So really easy, really simplistic. We'll have a kickoff call with some of our Microsoft engineers to understand exactly what you need. They'll start that ball rolling and get those things in place. The licensing is the biggest piece, but once that's in place, we've got some work to do on the backside, and then it's done. Really easy.
Okay, great. Well, we have more questions, but I'd love to continue the demo here.
Yep.
I guess maybe one question that might help go on to the next part of the demo is, does the solution work on all devices? And that's from Fatin M, as in Mike.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, let me stop sharing on my desktop and let me start sharing on my iPhone here. So what you're going to see is my iPhone, and we're going to jump right into the Teams app. So what you're seeing here now is my iPhone's Teams app, and you're seeing my call history. So across the bottom, you have those same tabs that you have across the side of your desktop version of the application. And with that, now I can jump to all of those locations. So we have found this app being very powerful. Really, the one downside to using this app on your cell phone is the limitation of screen real estate. So I've got all of that same call history. If I scroll down here, you'll recognize it's the same as what you saw on the desktop version. In the top right-hand corner, there's that handset with the plus button. That's where I'm going to find my dial pad. So here's that same dial pad that allows me to make outbound phone numbers if I don't have something to click on, if I don't have a phone number to click on. I can do whatever I need to here, type in my cell phone number, whatever I need, the number that I'm going to try and call, and it's going to send that call outbound using the calling line ID that we have set up for your Teams device. So doesn't matter which device you're using, your user is going to have an outbound calling line ID, and it will be set either at a group level or an individual level, and that's how these phone calls will go out. You'll see there I also have a people tab at the top, and with this, if I search for those same Du Bois people, there's all those same people, and you can see some of them are just phone icons. The very top there, Rick shows a video and a phone that allows me to be able to do video calls from here as well. And then the ever important call park pickup. So again, Mark parks a call for me on location 12. I am out on the beach and I need to grab this call. In the top right-hand corner, that handset with the P, I tap on that, I click 12 and click pickup. It grabs that call right out of the cloud for me and hands it off to whichever device. So again, desktop client, mobile client, desk phone client, app, iPad client, whatever you've got, it will function on. Okay. So those are those pieces. Top right-hand corner in the middle, that icon that the generation growing up right now will never recognize as what it truly is, that cassette tape is where my voicemails hide. And you can see even here I get the ability to listen to it, the ability to read what that transcription is, and then the ability to interact with it. So again, if I delete this out of my email inbox, then it will delete it from here as well. I may have to pull down from the middle like we've all gotten used to have it reload. But if I delete it, it will make those changes and reload out to these different applications. The last thing that I really love about the app is if I go out to my cell phone app, so my iPhone phone app, and tap on here, you'll see there's my favorites. I can click on my recents here. And with this, I can see all of these different calls that have come in Some of these are going to be Teams calls. Some of these are going to be cell phone calls. You'll see right there at the very top, that was a Teams video call that came into me. So even if I'm here and I need to make a business call back out from here, if I tap on that Teams video call, it will open Teams and then use Teams to make that outbound call. So I do have the ability to pull that history together in one location, but still make those calls from either my business or my personal line, depending on how I'm doing my business there. Okay. So that is, in a quick nutshell, the way that the mobile app functions. Again, very, very powerful app. Allows me to grab all of my files, do all of my chatting, look at my Teams, look at my channels. All of that is here inside of my phone, and I can function from this if I need to. One of the things we see a lot of people look at with this, specifically the cell phone app, is everybody carries around a Bluetooth pair of headsets or a Bluetooth headset, and they may be out on a walk and they want to grab those business calls. They don't need another device. Their cell phone will function that way. Okay. Did that bring up any questions for us, Sonia?
Yeah, there's some questions, but definitely that is just such a professional application that I can just, I mean, it's so
Uh-oh, you're on mute.
and seamless. Yes, sorry about that.
You're good.
So here's a few questions. Mark K as in Kilo says, does this have a minimum number of users?
I'll take that question. So that's a good question. I'm glad somebody asked. We'll assist you from 2 users to 2,000 users. So that's not a problem. We don't typically see 2 users for Teams, but if it's a startup company and they plan on expanding, not a problem. Or if they're just going to stay 2 users, it might not be the most cost efficient way to do it, but we're prepared to help you with any user count. And then I was going to say thanks to Seth because he's on Zoom, he's demoing Teams, and he's demoing Teams on his mobile device. So lots of moving parts there when you think about it. We prefer to demo with Teams, but we're in the Zoom environment. So hey, so be it. Thanks, Seth. But what was the other question?
There's another question here from an anonymous guest. They wanted to know if you could assist with desk phones and if they're not going to be using like a soft phone.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is something we see less of with Teams and the traditional hosted voice, but there are still people, and especially receptionists or somebody's handling a large volume of calls that want the desk phone.
Seth is demoing his phone. You have to talk though so they can see it.
Oh, sorry. If you're not on gallery mode, you can't see me. I'm sorry. Here I am looking pretty like, yes. Sorry, Mark, I cut you off. Desk phones, there are lots of desk phones out there. You can see I've got desk phones behind me here. I get to do a lot of testing and demonstrations with these. This one in particular is a Polycom phone. It's a Teams enabled device. You can see there, there's the placeholder for this TechSource meeting for my calendar. There's my calls, my people, my voicemail. It's all here for me. It's got USB ports on the side for headsets. It's got pass-through gigabit Ethernet. They even make this phone without the handset, if you don't need the handset, but you do want a physical device. Lots of feature functionality here, lots of capabilities. And me with my 1 user, so I'm only paying 1 Microsoft licensing fee. I'm only paying 1 direct routing fee. I've got this phone, I've got this phone, I've got my PC, I've got my Mac computer, I've got that phone, I've got that phone. I mean, you can have as many devices as you want per user, as long as you have that phone system license and that direct routing plan.
And not only can we assist you with Polycom phones, we can assist you with Yealink. And they're really the 2 industry standards around Teams. They're certified for Teams. They've been working with the Microsoft labs behind the scenes to make sure everything's the most efficient way for a phone to operate. So definitely can help you with that. And headsets as well. Poly does a great job. We have a lot of options from wireless to wired, you name it. So we can assist with that as well.
All right. Well, you guys got that covered. All right. So question from John B. This is kind of a tech question, but does John B as in Bravo says, if you delete a voicemail from the mobile app, does this delete it from your email as well?
Yes. So the way to think about this is that voicemail only exists once. Where it exists is in your email inbox. So if I delete it from the mobile app, it goes out to Outlook, to my Exchange folder, deletes that email, puts it in the trash. Now I can go retrieve it out of the trash if I need to, but no matter what device I interact with it on, it's only affecting that one voicemail because that's the only place it exists.
And I know a lot of people that will save important emails in a different folder, Outlook folder, and they're there perpetually. So.
Okay, cool. Next question from Gilles B, as in Bravo, says, is there an integration with Skype? And then this is another question that a couple people have asked. So I'll also give this question to a couple other names in the hat. This is Takuya, N as in November, wants to know about Zoom, Adobe, Google Classroom, GoToWebinar. So I guess if you could just kind of summarize how this would integrate with other applications maybe the organization is already relying on and loves, just to help with that.
Sure. So one of the things, the beauty about Teams and Microsoft is lots of people want to integrate with Microsoft. So we're seeing a growing library of integrations with Teams doing different things. CRMs, other conferencing platforms, they're all kind of coming together and allowing for that integration. So we need to look specifically at each one of those. And again, it's growing week by week. And then specifically speaking about Skype. Skype is a little bit different. So for those of you that don't know, Skype for Business is actually the precursor to Teams from a Microsoft Voice standpoint. We supported and still maintain a Skype for Business server for some of our customers who have opted not yet to move to Teams. So Skype for Business being the precursor, there isn't really an integration because they're fully separate platforms. And what Microsoft wants to do is to move people from Skype for Business into Teams. But you'll notice as you're using Teams and as you're jumping into Teams, in different places, you will actually see the term Skype because they're still using some of the Skype infrastructure to manage some of the instant messaging and other things happening on the backside. So hopefully that isn't too convoluted. If you want more information on that, let us know. We can definitely talk more in depth on that. But from an overall integration idea, there are lots of integrations, and that library of integrations is growing week by week.
Okay, and then next question is, why would someone not just go directly with Microsoft?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and I'll take that. I think I commented earlier that Microsoft core competency is around software. And they do a great job with the software and the PBX in the cloud and the Azure cloud, but they're not wanting to get in the telecom carrier business. That's not their, area of expertise and supporting customers and so forth. I've had some feedback, and I'm not saying this is specifically true of Microsoft, but I've had some feedback from customers that have struggled with support from Microsoft when they're going direct with Microsoft for their voice, not being able to get the responses as timely as they would like. So just to answer your question, we do have much tighter response SLAs, and we can share those with you where we're going to respond to, your problems or your issues where Microsoft might not even have a response SLA around that. That's a big one. Alan shared with us about the voice failover that's inherently built into your main phone number with our solution. The capabilities around analog devices as well, volume discounts, those all add up. And at the end of the day, going direct with Microsoft, if you don't have IT staff that's Microsoft certified, you might have some struggles with the terminology, with how to get things done and so forth. With us, we're going to provide that certified staff to support you. They don't have to be part of your IT department. They're part of our company. So I think those are huge, compelling reasons to look at somebody like Telligent IP versus going direct with Microsoft.
Great. Okay, and then kind of along that same line, an organization is already working with another IT company. Were they able to, they want to know if they are able to continue getting their Microsoft licenses from that company, but then work with Telligent to enable voice. Is that a possibility? Great question.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see some customers that are already under someone else's licensing Office 365 that's been sold to them. We're perfectly fine with that. We'll even have communication with that company that sold them the licensing if it's needed and so forth. So we'll all work in tandem. We don't have to have your Office 365 licensing. We will need, as Seth alluded to, access at some point to make some changes in the tenant. But otherwise, we can sell you the licensing, or we can work in a hybrid environment if you're already with somebody else. And that really goes across the board. I know Seth talked about security, compliance. We have a division, Microsoft Gold Partner, and they focus very heavily on compliance and assisting with security. And we can bring all those assets to the table, kind of a separate conversation, different price point, but it's a scenario where if you're looking for one company to manage all those things for you, we can absolutely do that. Or we can do a hybrid scenario where just maybe one off on some security compliance things and you're continuing to work with the current IT department that you're used to or IT company. So absolutely flexibility.
And I think that the redundancy is huge. I have a friend of mine who owns an organization, and they had an outage recently, and they were relying on one system, didn't have any backup in place, and were down for several days. So helping an organization plan for that when that's just not an option for them is huge. And I think that's something you guys do really well. And then let's see, one more. I think we have a lot of questions, but we're coming to the end of the time, and we have a lot of names in here. So let's go ahead and do our drawing. But one more question from Mark K, as in Kilo. He says, do you have to have a company email, or can I just use like a Gmail account for this solution?
Seth, I'll let you touch that.
Yeah, so you can use a Gmail account to register or to use Teams as a guest on someone else's tenant. Teams comes with Office 365, so in order to get the full feature functionality, it will have you use an Office 365 account, which is going to come with that Microsoft Mail piece. So you'll point your mail server out to that Outlook, and that's how that will function for you.
Okay, great. Well, I just wanted to thank all of the IT leaders and business leaders who joined today. I commend you for taking this time out of your very, very busy days. I know how much there is to do, and it seems like, oh, working from home, you have more time, but it doesn't seem that way for me. So thank you. And then thanks to Telligent IP, a wonderful provider with Technology Source. We're so glad that you were able to come today and kind of go through these demos. Great job. I know the demo was really clear on my side. It was a little crunchy with the sound a few times, but other than that, I was really impressed. I was like, wow, I'm looking at his cell phone. So great job. And then to our audience, we're going to go ahead and do our drawing right now. And I'll echo what Sue said. Please do reach out to us. In fact, a little surprise, a little treat that you may have already heard, but just in case you didn't know, if you're an organization today and you're an eligible organization for Microsoft Teams and you would like to take a meeting, Telligent has graciously offered a lunch for you. So whether that's an in-person meeting or a virtual meeting, I think you guys can figure that out. Just reach out to myself or Sue or the advisor or partner that brought you today, and we will get you guys all connected. That's what we do at Technology Source. So, all right, let's do.
Sonia, before you do that, I have one last quick thing to say along the lines of the free lunch. Also, for the first 5 customers that join us with Teams and get set up, we're going to waive the installation charges, which is huge. That's our commitment to our relationship with Technology Source. So if you're thinking about Microsoft Teams Voice as a customer, now would be the time to explore it, take part in the demo. The cost associated with setting all this up, having Microsoft certified staff do it, it can be real costly, but we're gonna waive that setup charge. So just to throw that out there.
I also wanted to add, if you do get chosen for the gift card, that you please hang in there. I will need your address so that we can get that gift card sent to you.
Great. Yeah, you can send that via chat to Sue. All right, go ahead right now. We have, I grabbed 2. So we have John B. So you will be our second place prize of $25. And I had the other one in my hand right there. Fatin M as in Mike. So that's our first place winner of $75. So please reach out to Miss Sue Beller here and she will get you all set. Thanks to some other people who sent their email addresses in early thinking maybe they would win. So I love that. Well, thank you so much to everyone, and we'll see you next time. We have another event coming up in 2 weeks, and we do these events every 2 weeks, bringing you really great products and services. The one coming up is awesome. Just check out our website at technologysource.com for instructions and information on those upcoming events. All right, we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, great job, guys.
Thanks.